Hey guys, so it's been a while. Just so you guys know, if you see a little black head popping around, that would be my puppy, Astraea, little black lab. So she doesn't know what I'm doing right now, so she's very confused if there's any random movement. She was actually just scratching herself up against the, I guess, it's not really an entertainment center, whatever I have my phone propped up against, and was shaking it. So if you guys see any of that, that's her. But anyway, hi, for those of you who have never been to my channel before, welcome. My name is Kate and this is my channel, so I've been thinking. For those of you who have been here before, first of all, I just need to say thank you for your patience. I know it's been an extremely long time. See, there's a puppy, hi. It's been a very, very long time. I've had a lot happen. So obviously, for any of you who have seen my channel before, you recognize like this is a very different background than what I've had before, because I did move. I am actually now in Utah. I have a whole different life. So the funny part is that it's taken me such a long time to make a new video because truthfully, I got hit with that whole thing of like wanting to make this great epic return video, and I know a lot of YouTubers get that when they have really long gaps in between when they make videos, and sorry, my dog literally just slid on the ground. The problem is that obviously anybody who suffered from that knows like wanting to have this like epic return video doesn't always work out the way you want it to, just because it's not always how life works. The reality is that I was wanting to make this into this huge inspiring video. So, you know, any of you who saw my very last video that I did right before I moved out here know that like I was talking about big life changes and wanting to just make a new life, a new start for myself, and that I had been having a lot of pushback from a lot of people in my life, and I was done with it and I was ready to move on. And I hadn't made any videos before I left just simply because I was in the middle of moving. You know, I was packing, I was still working, I was trying to get everything taken care of. And anybody who has moved states, especially by yourself, knows it's extremely strenuous, financially, mentally, physically, all the ways. It's just a lot of work, it takes a lot of time. I was doing it all by myself. So yeah, I did it. That whole trip actually took me, by the time I left Portland, I think I clocked it at 17 hours straight of driving. I rented this huge, like 16-foot moving truck. I had my car on a trailer behind it because I was the only one there. It was insane. So like my whole like initial way of getting into Utah was extremely kind of over the top, especially for a single woman by themselves. But it was great, and I had a chance to say all my goodbyes, and it was definitely what I needed. Part of the whole thing with making this video was that the reason why I had such a long gap in between my videos, not just because, you know, life got crazy and things changed, was my next video I really wanted to be this whole amazing video where I talked about like if you've ever wanted to move but you were really scared to, like what you could do and like all the steps and all the things to think about. And then I realized that's gonna take forever because I don't edit my videos. You guys know this. It's not even like an intentional quirk. It's just simply that I'm technologically challenged, and that I don't have any editing software. I'm literally doing this on my cell phone. I don't even have a camera, which is fine, but it made it to where there was things I wanted to talk about in that video I was concerned wouldn't come out in a way that wouldn't make that video into like an hour-long video. So I'd wanted to write like an article to go along with it, so that way like if you guys were like, bitch, we ain't got time for that, you guys could just click on the article and read that instead. And then I just got really busy. So I actually, I kind of wanted to, he's never gonna see this and that's fine, I just wanted to have a moment to actually, what kind of gave me the ability to finally sit down and make this video and not feel like it has to be epic and, you know, super great return video is actually, I know I'm super slow, recently got into watching Shane Dawson. Any of you who've been on YouTube for a really long time know who he is. I felt really dumb. I didn't know who he was. I'd never heard of him before. Now that I've started watching his videos, I'm like, how have I lived my entire life not knowing who this man is? He's amazing. It's fine. I know he can be kind of controversial for some people. I personally love his humor, and I really loved all of his like really real personal videos. And he never really talks about it, but I started realizing that your videos don't have to be something super epic and super crazy every single time you come on. I feel like a lot of people now, when they come onto YouTube, they're not doing all these crazy challenges, doing whatever they can to get views. The reality is I don't have a lot of people view my videos, and that's totally fine. I just want my videos to mean something to people. If they get anything out of my content, I want them to really understand that these videos, they're for you guys. They're for you to hopefully learn something and be able to kind of take away something from what I talk about. I mean, I guess I didn't know that was the word for it now, but I guess that's why people on YouTube are now called influencers. I was like, okay, so we've changed the lingo, cool beans. But so, again, Shane will never see this, and that's cool, but Shane, thank you for just being a normal human and kind of unintentionally giving me that pushback onto YouTube. I had really wanted to continue with my channel, but since it's called So I've Been Thinking, I thought I had to do a lot of incredible videos and have lots of research. Like, I wanted my videos to mean something, and I started realizing that they mean something to me just because they mean something to me. If even one person watches these videos and gets something out of them and is like, that's awesome, I never would have thought of something like that for myself, then that's great. That means I've done my job. For anyone else who watches them, they're like, wow, bitch, you talk too much, and like, I just don't have time to watch you. That's fine. Like, I've learned after diving really deep into YouTube lately, there is something out there for everybody. I may not be your cup of tea, and that's fine. But my big thing that I want to talk about, besides kind of like owning up to not being here for a long time, was I just wanted to kind of talk really briefly. I'm desperately gonna try and keep this short, guys. I want to talk about kind of some of the changes I noticed in myself when I moved out here, and I realize a lot of people do big, oh, I've changed videos. That's not really what this is. I have lived all over the country. I moved a lot when I was a kid. I wasn't a military brat, but I might as well have been. I moved so much. And I got a chance to see a lot of differing points of views because of that. I lived on different coastlines, and I lived in, some parts of like the Northeast, and I lived in the Southwest, and I lived in the Midwest. And, so I've seen a lot of differing things. The only place I haven't lived is in the actual South. And I'd love to visit there someday, but pretty sure with that humidity, whew, can't do that. So, but during my time of living in all those different places, I always noticed that like it challenged a certain perspective I had everywhere that I lived. Obviously, I am a white female, so therefore there are certain things I don't really have to worry about, and I'm owning that just because it's been something I've been a little more chronically aware of after moving. When I was living in Portland, like I've lived in Oregon several different times. This last time was not only the longest I'd lived in one spot, it was also the longest I'd lived in one area. I had never had the chance of experiencing that whole thing where you live in one place for so long, you only ever get to see that. There's Astraea. That's my black lab. Pausing, guys. She's sitting behind me because she feels neglected. So this is Astraea. Say hi. She's about 1.5 years, so she's really cute. I'm just accepting she's probably gonna pop in these videos, so at least now you guys know who she is. So the thing is that one of the things I realized was that, Portland is very much a bubble. It is a very liberal bubble, and a lot of people don't realize Oregon in of itself is not a liberal state. I didn't know that actually until I moved away. Oregon is actually very conservative. Portland is very liberal. And ever since the election, I stayed away from anything political. I really don't want to talk about political stuff on my channel unless it comes up. Then no problem, but like that's not what I really want to have as content. And moving out here to Utah. Utah is literally the opposite of Portland in like almost every single way. It's a completely different political climate, completely different religious culture, completely different like climate. Portland's like wet and damp and very green, and Utah's beautiful in of itself. It's not like a desert like in Arizona. It's a high desert, so there's mountains, and it's very dry, which has been very different for me to deal with. But like it's beautiful, but it's different. Probably one of the biggest differences I started realizing when I moved here. And this, by the way, this is not me throwing shade on anyone. So just realize that right away, guys. Utah obviously is known for having a lot of Mormon culture. It's like the birthplace of the Mormon culture. We all call them Mormons. They tend to refer to themselves as LDS out here. It's the same thing. It's just the Church of the, Latter-day Saints or something like that. It's a very long title, and I always butcher it when I say it, so I think that's what it is. It's Latter-day Saints is what the LDS stands for. But living somewhere like Portland where pretty much everyone is agnostic or atheist, which is fine. It's very different living somewhere like here. The ironic part is everyone's like, literally when I was moving out here, people were like, you do know that it snows and there's Mormons there. Not even kidding. That was like one of the biggest things I got from people, because I realized a lot of people don't know a lot about Utah in general unless you live here, and that's fair. Yes, it snows here. It's been great. It's been fun. And I mean that like legitimately. I actually really love the snow. Someday I want to live in Alaska, so like for me, snow's awesome. And yes, there's Mormons. Interesting thing is the biggest thing that kind of challenged my perspective on things, and this is kind of the point and what I'm trying to narrow down on. I had grown up literally hearing people talk about, whenever the Mormon missionaries would come to your door, you run away from them. They're really pushy. They don't leave you alone. They're always trying to shove their religion down your throat. And that was a pretty well-known fact of anybody who lived outside of Utah. Like that's a thing. Ironically, they acknowledge that here. They're like, yeah, we done messed up when we did that. And here they're actually super chill with it. People know I'm not religious here. I just tell them I'm agnostic, or, I'm spiritual. I don't have a religion I follow, but I do believe in something. And it's actually been really cool, because here's the funny part. In Portland, because everyone's agnostic or atheist, you would think everyone would be cool with everyone's religion, right? And like, I'm sure there's pockets where it is really chill. Well, and mind you, I am speaking very broadly. I do know that there are not always people like that there. But the people that I was primarily around, if they knew someone was religious, they acted very oddly with them. It was weird. They weren't cruel to them, but they weren't exactly like, I guess I just want to say inclusive or understanding that was what they believed in. And I started realizing that I think the reason why was that in Portland it kind of became, I think, a fad for people that just never really went away, and then it became an actual like social structure that Portland wants so badly to be different from anywhere else that literally anything that's normal and mainstream and conventional and like things that are like that everywhere else in the country, they shun it. And I remember I had a really big like moment of like, wow, this is like really getting bad. Or maybe I'm just mainly, I can't even talk. Maybe I'm finally just hearing about it because I was like already actually on my way out. So I was like more receptive to it. I had a client who him and his wife had been living in Illinois. I think it was Illinois or Indiana, one of those like more like kind of like low-key Midwestern states. And, they were Christian, and he had talked about how while they had been living there, they had some friends who had asked if they wanted to have brunch on Sunday. Anyone who's lived in Portland knows brunch on Sunday is a super chill thing. Everyone loves doing it. And they told their friend, they were like, hey, I'm really sorry. We have to go to church first, but we can meet up for lunch afterwards. And that person literally just ghosted them, like never spoke to them again, just completely disappeared. And he was like, yeah, it was super weird. And it made me kind of sad because like, we weren't asking them to come to church with us. Like we weren't trying to impose anything on them. We were just like, this is what we're going to do. We can meet up with you later. And that was like, obviously it's a very small isolated incident, and I know that, but I was very surprised hearing that because it made me think, why would you choose to not hang out with someone just because they were religious? Like that's a very odd thing to do. And then living here, where I would have expected a lot of weird, exclusivity, like where people are gonna be like, no, we don't really want to be around you. It's kind of been the opposite. The biggest thing I think I've learned from being here is that these people, and mind you, I know that they're not the norm. The people I've interacted with are some of the most loving, amazing people I've ever been around. They're very family and community oriented, which was kind of surprising because I didn't realize it was even like a weird subconscious thing I was expecting. I was expecting that because I wasn't going to be Mormon, they were going to be nice on the surface but kind of like disregard me. Some of my closest friends are very, very LDS. They go to church every single Sunday. They go to the temple, like that's a thing for them. And we have really great conversations. We know what each other's boundaries are for conversations, and most of them talk about literally anything, like, you know, even what you would consider the no-no topics. You know, I've had some amazing sex conversations with my friends who are LDS. Like, we've had great conversations about political stuff and, you know, all those really touchy, like, taboo subjects that you don't really talk about. They'll even talk about, like, weird things they've realized from being Mormon over the years, like things that challenged their beliefs and made them realize, like, some of this stuff doesn't really make sense and some of it's not fair, you know. And so I've even, like, talked with, like, older people, like people who are part of, you know, more like the baby boomer and slightly below that type of generation, who also acknowledge, like, some of the stuff isn't really fair, and they've tried really hard to, like, change how it is because they're like, it's not really inclusive. And I found it really interesting. And it really challenged my belief in humanity as a whole, right? It made me realize that sometimes the people you expect to be the most, I guess, I don't even want to use the word oppressive, I guess the most unforgiving in their lifestyle, that they won't allow any outside change or outside influence or anything like that, can sometimes be the ones that surprise you the most. Portland has always been that place where you expect everyone to be chill with everything. And they are, until you disagree with what they actually think. And again, this is probably just a small pocket of people. Probably not everyone's like that. But the people I interacted with were the ones that I started noticing that the most with. And it made me really sad, because after living here, I'm like, I've had some of the most intense conversations about the most controversial topics, like the things people say, do not talk with these people about that, like, you are going to want to go and cry because it's so bad. I've talked with people about gay marriage, the big oh no when it comes to religious stuff. I've talked with people, what was the other one? I talked with people about, I think I touched on abortion. I talked with people about I don't even remember now. Like, I've gone into like, you know, I picked and chose who I was going to have those conversations with, people I personally felt safe talking to, who I didn't want to have to, like, be battling with the whole time. Like, I did enough of that in Portland. I just wanted to have a genuine conversation. I wanted to be able to see what their perspective was. I was very curious. And I wasn't doing it to change anybody's opinions. I wasn't doing it to, you know, change my opinion. I was just curious where it came from. And some of what they said did make me sad. Some of it was not what I would have hoped for. It made me understand a lot more why some of these topics people avoid talking with people about, because you yourself, sorry guys, I'm on a super low futon and my back's like, this is not great. It made me realize that some people, they're afraid to talk about this stuff because maybe it's going to challenge their own beliefs, or maybe they just won't know what to say. There were a few times I was like, what? And I had to be very, like, conscious and aware and, like, really remember who I was talking to. And instead of reacting how I might have around other people and just being like, bitch, you're stupid, I had to be very present in recognizing that these people have their beliefs because it's what they've grown up with. They have their beliefs because this is what has been introduced to them, and this is what kind of vibes with them and what they believe in, which of course, like, if you don't believe in that, you're not really always able to put it in that perspective. You're not really able to be like, well, this is wrong, you should know that. Well, no, if that's what they believe in and that's what they've been had taught to them and that's what they've been surrounded by, then of course that's what they're going to believe in. And some of it I was like, okay, that's cool. I now know with those people I won't talk about certain things just because I don't want either of us to feel uncomfortable, because that was the biggest thing I started realizing, was that I could have totally gone on the attack and been like, well, you're just a horrible person and you don't like people and you know, just, I'm not even going to come up with all the fake things that I could have said, because we've all heard it. We've all heard it. We've heard celebrities say it. We've heard our friends say it. We've heard anyone and everyone say that kind of stuff at this point. But instead I chose to be compassionate and remember that these people have their reasons. Just because I don't understand it doesn't mean I can't respect it. And that was the biggest thing I started realizing, because they actually gave me the same respect, because I didn't pretend like I followed their views at all. They knew I didn't. I was very careful how I worded it, but I was very open about the fact that I support gay marriage, and I was very open about the fact that I don't support the whole pro-life crap, if there are extenuating circumstances, whatever. Like, I was very honest about my side of it and explaining why, and they were so respectful. Like, they, if you want to look at it this way, I was on their territory, right? Like, this is where they are from. And I could have totally shrunk into a corner and been like, okay, I'm not going to talk now. But instead, they let me talk, and they heard me, and they were just like, well, this is kind of what I've heard, and, this is kind of why we believe this. And I was like, okay. And I was stunned because I had tried to have some very controversial conversations in Portland, and they backfired every time. Like, I had this thing where after the election, because, that's one of the biggest moments in anybody's life as far as our generation within the last 5 years, right? After the election, everyone was talking about it all the time. Obviously Portland being liberal, we're not happy, it's fine. So I just was trying to talk with people because I wanted to understand what people were feeling. I wanted to know what was going on. I didn't really care who voted for who. And I know that a lot of people don't agree with that statement because they're like, well, you should care. Well, for me personally, I was over it at that point. I was like, I can't be obsessing about who voted for who. It's fine. But I tried to kind of have like normal conversations about what maybe would happen and like what maybe would be a good thing. And like, okay, well, maybe if they don't screw this up, like no big deal. Some of it, I guess you could say I was trying to play devil's advocate, but more so I was just trying to get opposing perspectives in there, right? People were ripping my head off. And you could just feel that they were so uncomfortable with the fact that it was almost like, this is going to be a really cheesy reference, but it was like I was coming out of the Matrix and they were like, put her back. And I don't think a lot of people realize that even places like Portland that can seem like a, utopian liberal bubble have that kind of mentality. And mind you, there's stuff like that here too. I haven't personally experienced it as much, but people who have then left the church have talked about some of this stuff. And I'll be really honest with you, like there's certain things I found out that I understand why they do them. Now understanding, like I've asked a lot of questions. Like I've asked so many questions, things I didn't even know, guys. Like things I didn't even realize were a thing with the Mormon church and I would never have even guessed. I was like, okay, duly noted. That's definitely different. I asked the questions and because I wanted to know, and I actually had someone once, I had a client who his grandfather is actually a very high member in the church. I don't even want to go into the details of how their whole ranking system works. It's very confusing to me, even living here. But I was asking him questions because he himself was like a history major, so he's a really chill dude, and we were just talking. And yes, he's Mormon, but he was someone that I was like, I feel like I could maybe ask him these questions. He seems chill enough, he seems logic-minded enough, maybe we can talk about this and just have it be a chill thing. And this was the first time I'd ever jumped into this, let me dip my toe into this potentially backfiring for an opposing opinion. And he was really nice about it. He answered all my questions. He gave me a really awesome overview of what the Mormon faith was, which surprised the hell out of me. I wasn't expecting that. And then he says to me, it was really great. He turns to me and he's like, I thought you said you were agnostic. Why are you asking all these questions? And I was like, oh shit, touche. Like, what do I say? Like, I froze for a second because I was like, does morbid curiosity count? But what I did say, I mean, I kind of like joked about it later, but I basically panic responded, which turned out to be actually a really great response. And I said to him, I was like, well, I live in this state and like this is a big part of your guys' culture, so I feel like if I'm gonna live here, I should at least understand it. And he was like, oh, okay. And after I said it, I was like, holy shit, that's actually like, even though I kind of like panicked when I said that, like, it's honestly true. Like, why should you live somewhere and make no effort to even understand how people think? I feel like that's what breeds a lot of hate is ignorance. Honestly, I do. I feel like it's fine if you don't agree. Like, that's the biggest thing I've learned with opposing opinions, right? Like, varying perspectives is, it is okay if you don't agree with what your freaking neighbor thinks. That's fine. You don't have to. But you should respect them and their life and their mindset enough, just as a person. You don't even have to like give it to them in like a, oh, they're my neighbor, or, oh, they're my brother, or, oh, they're, my significant other's parents. Like, it doesn't matter where it's from. Just remember that not everyone acts like an ignorant asshole because they don't want to learn or because they know better. Sometimes it's just that they haven't had the opportunity. they haven't actually had something happen to them that has like given them this catalyst to learn. And everyone who has ever, like, you know, had those moments, like when you hear about people leaving religions or you hear about people moving away from places, it's always something like that where it's like the wool is taken off their eyes and they're like, oh, not okay with that. And I want you guys to know too, like, I realize it sounds like I'm like really throwing hard shade at Portland and the way people think. Not everyone in Portland's like that. Portland's a really great place. I was so grateful to spend my early 20s there. Like, it was a great place to evolve as a person. It's definitely, I kind of view it as like a place for lost kids. Most people who live in Portland are not really close to their families. Like, I did so many friends Thanksgivings and friends Valentines and friends Christmases and friends New Year's, and it was amazing. Like, some of the best parties and get-togethers I've ever had, right? But like, that was that part of my life. Like, I was a little lost kid. I moved to Portland, you know, fresh out of foster care, and I wanted to get as far away from my family as I could, and I was still learning about myself and what I wanted from my life. And now I'm 26. I just had my birthday last month, or excuse me, month before. I forgot we're November now. And I'm in a new chapter of my life. And now, mind you, am I going to stay in Utah for the rest of my life? I'm going to be really honest with you guys. Probably not. Actually, no, we're not. When I say we, I mean, there's now two of me. I'll go into that later. But like, I'm not going to stay here forever. I just have been very appreciative of what I've learned while I've been here. And it's been a great place for me to kind of like reset and like relearn, and different climate's been great. I've gone outside so much. Like, dude, I did axe throwing. Like, that's what this shirt's from, actually. I went axe throwing on my birthday last year. It was great. Or no, excuse me, it was this year. I forgot it was this year. I went axe throwing on my birthday, and it was amazing, and I had always wanted to do it. I've done four-wheeling and going on hikes and going camping and going swimming up in dams and like things I haven't done since I was a child. And it's been amazing. Like, I've had so many great opportunities. I've made great friends. I have an amazing career. I have a new puppy. I have an amazing fiance. Like, I have a lot of really great things that have happened in my life. But I also realized that when I first got out here, like, you know, when you move to a new place, you kind of have to, if you don't want to be uncomfortable with the normal transition of moving, you do need to kind of like learn how to observe and learn like, what is it that's different about this place was the biggest thing, like, that I've always done every time I move. Like, it's kind of a subconscious habit now. Even when I change jobs, I do it. I very much, like, people are usually shocked. No, they're not even shocked. They're shook. They're so flabbergasted at how observant I am, and I don't seem like I'm acting observant because I've spent a lifetime like moving so much that I've had to pay attention to people and pay attention to what's normal in a new place and like get to know people. And then it's nice because then as I'm there longer, I kind of like carve out my own little like Kate bubble, and like I'm like, this is me, and there's certain things you do that I agree with, and I'll kind of like add that to my collection of personality traits, and there's other things you guys do that I'm like, I'm good. Like, there's a thing here called Hawaiian haystacks. It's a type of food. I don't even know what it is. It's got pineapple and like little like crunchy little noodle things, and I think you put it in tuna. I'm so confused. I don't know what it is. I've seen a few people eat it, and I'm like, I'm a pass on that. There's also a thing called funeral potatoes, which like everyone goes nuts over, and they actually serve them at funerals here. But they're like the greasiest, like cheesiest, like most disgusting mashed potatoes I've ever heard of, and I'm like, you guys are weird. So it's just like a small cultural thing, right? But yeah, so it's just been an interesting year and a half, almost 2 years now, because it's November and I moved. I moved at the very end of March in 2018, and so it's been a crazy time while I've been here. But basically, I do apologize. I was really trying, guys. I was really trying to make this a short video. It didn't happen. I'm sorry. I just kind of wanted to talk about like what had kind of happened and the things I had learned, and what I still really want to make that video I was talking about. I'm really going to try and figure out a way to do it because I feel like it's really going to be helpful to anyone who really wants to move, but they're like really overwhelmed with the details and they don't really know how to go about it and how to start and what steps to take. So I really want to do that because I feel like I have a very unique type of skills in that way that I should share with you guys because, you know, why not? Where else am I going to do with them? But anyway, so I just kind of wanted to share that stuff with you guys, and hopefully this was an appropriate level of weird and dorky type of coming back video. I just want you guys to know, those of you who have been waiting for me all this time, I love you, and I'm so grateful for you guys to have been waiting all this time. For those of you who are new, I hope you enjoy me and will stick around for more things. I am hopefully gonna start trying to learn how to edit at some point, guys. No guarantees. But anyway, so if you guys ever have anything like as my videos go on that you kind of want me to talk about, you want me to kind of dive into because you've been curious about me talking about it and you want to know more, please feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. Also, please, if you really like this, give this video a like, and please, if you also enjoy my content, I don't know how many more times I can say please, sounding a little clingy and needy here, please go ahead and, I said it again, I was trying not to, sorry. Go ahead and click the subscribe button if you enjoy my content and you want to see more. But anyway, for now, guys, that's all I've got. I hope you enjoyed Astraea's little sneak peek as she's sitting right here. Little black face. You can't even see her against the black background of my shirt. But anyway, so I hope that you guys enjoyed today, and I'll see you soon. Love you guys. Bye.